Okay, good morning, all brothers and sisters from all over the world. Good morning. It's Joe here, Yo Ping. Pretty glad to share my second part of my trip to Mozambique for Cyclone Idai. The PPT I prepared for today is it's this one segment of time when I took up this project in this specific village called Matashira, which really had many things happen over there, which is really pretty unimaginable back here in Taiwan. It's really a very different country, a very different scenario, a very different things that is beyond imagination. But it's really interesting also. So I named it To Infinity and Beyond, which is some realization that I came to understand from what Master is teaching. What is infinity? What does it mean to not be limited by numbers, but to have a heart to be infinite, like the four innumerables, what does it mean to really have a heart to be innumerable, to be infinite? What does that mean? So, but Matashira is the place that is 150 kilometers away from Bela. We've been hearing Bela a lot, but actually many places they are deeper into the countries are even more affected because they are really the rural villages and their houses are already very bad. And so when a flood comes, the destruction was enormous. And one of such a village is called Matashira. And this place is really difficult to get to. You need to drive like about 4 hours to go over and another 4 hours to come back. So just imagining driving there 4 hours and then driving 4 hours back every day, it is just really tiresome. And so we thought about maybe we should have a group of people to go there, stay there, and try to stay alive, and then finish the distribution over there. It's about 8,000 more families, and so I was the one who was picked to do that. And for the team, that was our leader. He said, "You give me 20 volunteers from Maputo, and then I'll just try to get the 200s over there by my whatever means I can, and then with 1 week distribute the whole town. There's about 8,000 families, and then try to stay alive by yourself." I was like, okay. Okay, so that was the big task I was given, and then to try to go there and then stay in this village, which is one of the most poorest, and then with the tent and the walks and the firewoods that we can bring over and then cook by ourselves, live by ourselves, drink the water there and everything, and try to distribute 8,000 families in 1 week, which is, of course, a huge number because just looking at our past examples, in Mozambique, we've been distributing in ways that is very special. That is something like it's not the beneficiary that comes to receive, but it's the volunteers that bring the rice and then walk into the crowd to give the beneficiaries. So that was the ways that they're very used to, which is very nice. And I've shared before also. It's a really nice way to distribute. It's songs and everything, and then it's very nice. People will be very happy, and then so it's really good. But the things we are giving out to is we are giving out is just too heavy. 1 bag of such beans is 50 kg, and it's like just carrying one person around. It's really crazy, and I tried a few times. It's really back-breaking, and then and having to pack everything into one we call it bao, one bucket, and to distribute it to each beneficiary is just crazy. And so it's really tiring. For the first distribution, we did this method, which is totally crazy. It's just impossible. And not to imagine, now we're distributing construction and agricultural kits, which includes like it's a lot of things, all the heavy things, the katana, the tools, the saw, the whatever hoe, the thing they use to plant. It's all the very heavy tools that we are giving out, and adding up, it's about 30 kg of things. And if you want to give it out one by one, and then calling out names and all that, I try to actually calculate. It takes about 30 seconds to distribute one person. If you're going to distribute just 1,000 families, it would need 8 hours. And it's 8 hours under the sun. It's really crazy. It was like, it's impossible. And when you distribute 8,000 in 7 days, yeah, it's just impossible. And looking at our schedule of distribution, M stands for Matashira. So we were thinking, okay, distribute 1 day, rest 1 day, and if we have to distribute 8,000, we need to distribute 1 day, 2,000 families, and there's 16 hours. That's impossible. But yeah, so we definitely need to think some other ways. If not, yeah, looking at for the team space, we know it's impossible. So we're thinking, can we use Ragic? There's some online database tool, or basically using technologies. Can we do that using technologies to distribute? And thinking through it, again, that's impossible. Why? Because first, there's no internet in the disaster zones. Just to give an example, we need personal hotspots. That means really a person standing with his phone, trying to search for the internet, and then maybe by chance you will find one, and so basically that's impossible. And then there's no electricity. There's no electricity in disaster zone also. This photo is once there's sudden out of electricity, and then some of our teammates were stuck in the elevators. So it was really bad. And then there's no smartphones over there. I was kind of amazed to see that in this world, there's still Nokia phones. I mean, those button phones that is almost already out of our lives. But over there, it's like everyone still uses these phones that last very long. So the battery life is very long. You can use 1 week without charging, which is really awesome. Nowadays, we need to charge like half a day. But what I mean is, there's no smartphones over there, and then very, very few people knows how to use computer, not even university students. And so again, that's really difficult. And then even worse is the literacy rate over there is really, really low. Over the country, it's about 50%. It means in 10%, there's 5 people that cannot read. In our volunteer group, I think it's even lower. We have about 76 volunteers that go from Maputo over there. I think only about 3 or 4 can read. So to ask them to actually call out the names of the beneficiaries, just calling names of the beneficiaries, is already we couldn't find enough volunteers to call out names. So that's really difficult. And then the name list that we are getting is actually really precious. It's all purely handmade, written one by one by the viral chief. And like this person on the top right hand corner is one of our viral chief. And then we were asking him to take out the list of families that are living in his viral. Viral means the town, the village, the small village. And so we were asking him, can you take out can you show us the population name list? To us in these advanced countries, we just go to the town mayor and then ask for the name list, right? And then we get this soft copy database. But what we get from them is this little book that he took out from his really shabby home. This is home of a chief, and then this is the small book, and then it's just names up there So if you imagine, it's not possible to get a number. Now, if, for example, we go to a town, we want to ask, so how many family are there in this town? I don't know. You couldn't, it is just no such a number that they have been keep tracking to. There's no numbers. And I can imagine why, when all these name lists are all handwritten. And, you know, with some creativity, some of the biology will do some drawings on all these name lists. It's really purely handmade. So impossible to distribute with technology. So how do we distribute 8,000 families with the most traditional forms of tools, just papers and pen? Really cracking our heads. There's two areas we need to solve. One, how to quickly distribute the materials. Two, how to quickly identify the beneficiaries. So if we can identify the beneficiaries and then quickly distribute the materials to them, we can make this quick. So two big problems, how to solve them. Materials, thinking through it, we think sequence. Sequence is the most important key in distribution. Our first distribution was really bad because we didn't put our items in sequence, and so they just get whatever things in their hands, and then after a while you will see people with one handful of all the barang-barangs, all the different tools on their hands, and then they couldn't really put them into the buckets and everything, and so it slows down very much. And so we change the way, the sequence of our items to make it something like a shopping cart, meaning that we distribute the bucket and a rice sack first, just a bag first. So they can use this bucket and this sack to put all the other small things into it, like the hammer, now I only remember the Portuguese name. The panelos. There's the nails. Nails is pregos. Okay, so all these things. So they can like going to shopping. They can bring the buckets and then going down the line. They receive all the things one by one. And so that's the method. And then we have to put all the items into maybe separate lines. So we could have, say, 4 distribution lines going concurrently. Yeah. So that was the idea. Of course, transforming the idea into actual action, that's another story. So you have to find a day to get all the volunteers to come together at night, and then have to really get them to demonstrate to them what does it mean, this shopping cart method, and then we get people to demonstrate and everything. And yes, finally, on the day of distribution, of course, the volunteers don't understand. and so we still have to, on the ground, pull people to say that, okay, here, put the hammers. Okay, here, put the buckets. Here, you put some things. And then finally, after about three hours of putting down the materials, we finally have our ideal way of distribution, which is actually quite nice. We play this soft music, and then they just bring the bucket, and then we can, one by one give the things. It's very elegant, and then we don't have to carry the 50 kg things around. And then, it's very nice. Obrigado, mama. Bon dia, mama. We can. So it's pretty nice. Bobo means auntie, uncles, or amas, and so it's very nice. After about just 3 minutes of going down the line, they can go back home. Very nicely. So it's all planned. It's the right hand will be the bucket, the left hand will be the sack, and then on top will be the flour, and then on here will be the arami, the wires. So it's all planned, and they will all put at the actual place. So they just have to stretch out their hands, and then everything will go out to their bodies, and then and then things will be distributed. So it's very nice, very fast. So the distribution of materials is solved. Okay, so now how do we speed up the beneficiary identification part. Okay, so again, cracking our heads. So we were thinking maybe we can split them into biros. That means the small, each different villages. And our usual methods in our in our camps, everything we have all these small boards, and then biro number 1, biro number 2, biro number 3, and then people will just line up by themselves to go into the villages. But then realize this doesn't work because they don't know how to read. They cannot read, so the board would not work. And so we thought of Indonesia. They have these fruits, and so maybe we can use fruit. Would that work? And so we have people to go and identify which biro are you? Oh yeah, so you're biro number 1. Okay, go and find a banana. Biro number 2. Oh, go and find an orange. We even select the fruits that you can find in Mozambique, which are the banana and the orange and the tomatoes that we eat a lot every day. So we were thinking about that, and can we use that? But then again, thinking deeper, that's not actually faster, because you still need people to go and ask, which biro are you? Oh, you are number 1, so you go and find banana, and so on and so forth. That still takes time, and so not so good. And so came with an idea. So maybe we can distribute by a small chief. What do you mean by small chief? We ask around and realize that they actually have a chief for each 10 family. So in 10 family, they will have a chief. 10 family, they will have a chief, so on and so forth. So if we can find this small chief for each 10 families, then we only call out the names of these small chiefs. So we don't need to call out names for 2,000 families. We only need to call for 200. And then when the small chief come, the people only need to identify the face of the small chief. And that should be quite fast. You don't need to just call the chief, okay, this face. If this is your small chief, come out. So that'll be quite fast. Okay. So in that way, we kind of shrink the time 10 times. So of course, that's ideal. That's the ideal. Okay, so putting it into action in Metta Shira, we tried it out. Okay, of course, there's a lot of stories here. So we went to Metta Shira. This is the town office. It's also flooded quite badly. And we met the big chief, the chief that in charge of the whole Metta Shira. His name is called Domingos. It's very cool chief. So he's sitting by his tables and then talking to us and then telling us that he's in Metta Shira, they have about 8,000 families and so on and so forth. It's very cool. So we shared about Master Cheng. We even took up a photo of our master and then share about compassion and then why do we come here and all the sufferings, and so we are here to see our families. We're not here to distribute just goodies. We're here to see families. We look at all these people as our families, and so we are here and so on and so forth. And then what we are going to distribute, we're distributing all the tools to help them to reconstruct, and then we are distributing seed to help them to stand up from their they can begin to plant and then earn their own living and so on and so forth. And then when we begin to show them the things we are giving out, we see blinks, the stars start to blink in the chief's eyes, and he starts to sit straighten up and then begin listening to us. After listening to all these things, we need a name list and everything. He asked us one question: after doing so much for you, will you really bring the materials here? I was like, definitely we will come here. We come with sincerity. We definitely will come here. And then, but he said that, I think I see your people here. And then he starts searching his phones, and then he found this is our local volunteers that have went before about 1 month ago when a disaster happened. We actually went there before, and the chief remembered us. And so he says, see, you came before, and then you're left. And so he's like, oh no. But Sister Dennis was very fast. She said, and so you see, we're back. Yeah, so and so the chief was like, oh, okay, yeah. So we are always here. We never forget you. This week we are back here again. We are here to finally see what we are going to help. And so, yeah, so phew. The chief was okay. He was happy. And so when we leave, he's really happy. And then he promised us that he will help us to prepare all the name lists and then help us to identify who is the small chief. Okay, separate name list into 10 families, 10 families, 10 families, so on and so forth. And then after a few days, yes, we got a name list, which is very beautifully handmade. Even the boxes are all drawn by hands. When I look at this stack of name lists, I'm really touched. And so we brought new papers to return to the town chief. Love from Tzu Chi, obrigado, and new papers, because they really use a lot of papers. Okay, so we gathered all the chiefs to explain why you need to distribute these ways. And then again, we tell them we are not here to help. We are here to see families. And then I also use a phrase that Sister Danish teach me that really is very useful. It's called Vamos juntos, ma. Vamos juntos, corazón. But it sounds super awesome. It's like that's hold our hands. Let's hold our hand together. Our hearts connected. Now we can help our villagers to stand up again. And so they were like, awesome. It's very powerful phrases. And then I shared about bamboo bank. I really took up my courage to share about bamboo bank, that everyone has the strength to help. And our this translator Domingo was translating, and I was actually pretty amazed. These small chiefs, they were actually quite supportive. Yeah, and so. Yeah, you see, like everyone, it's like, yeah, and when you really go and look at their houses, it's all toppled, it's all destroyed and everything. But then they're really willing to took out the coins. So, well, it's not a lot, but to me, it's actually our first time taking out the idea of bamboo bank in distribution in Mozambique. For the previous distribution, we have not taken out this idea because they are really, really very poor. But I just thought maybe I should try once, and which is really amazing. It's really amazing. So we thought everything will go well. It's really full of hope. It will be okay. But when we actually look at the name list again in detail, we realize something is wrong, because remember the big chief told us that there is 8,060 families in the Shura, but the name list we get in families, we get 16,000 families. That is 2 times the number of families that's supposed to exist in Matashira. It was like, where does all these families come from? So, it's really crazy. And so we went back to ask the big chief, why all this problem? I mean, we come with sincerity. You should at least be trustworthy. You told us there's 8,000 families. So why do you give us 16,000 families? Why this problem? And he was like, because we have polygamy. That means one husband will have many wives. And so the list I'm giving you, 8,000, is all husbands. Okay, and the list that chief is giving you is all the wives. And if you don't give to all the wives, they're going to fight. And I'm like, is it really true? So should we give by not all the husbands or by the wives? That's too complicated. And then we were discussing about this. There's a saying that when you save men, you save an individual. When you save women, you save a family. So we should distribute to all the wives. But I realized then, when we distribute in Mozambique, it's the difference. Like when you save a woman, you save a family. When you save men, you have to create more families. This is too complicated. So Tim told me, he reminds me that, okay, let's not dwell into all these difficulties. Just remember, who are really affected? Who are really affected? Okay, and we remind ourselves the phrase the master is teaching us. Let's not be limited, but let's still be precise. Okay, not be limited, but still be precise. Meaning that we don't limit ourselves to the numbers being too big. Okay, 16,000 is too big. That's not. It will not be too big if really each of those families are affected. If they are really all affected, don't care if it's wife or husband. If they are all affected, then we should help. Okay, but it's actually not so easy to understand. I mean, not be limited, but still be precise. Which means you should distribute as many as you can, but still be precise. I mean, it's actually two directions. You see, so is it should I distribute a lot or not a lot? I mean, so is it the more the merrier, the more the better? I mean, Africa is so poor. Is it what I mean, or does it mean that you should be precise? It should not be too many. Be stringent. You should go and check, go and visit each of all those families, and so on and forth. So we actually set a target for ourselves, which should be 20,000, but we should not be limited. So that's too little. No, or we should be precise. So that's too much. I mean, so it gets us confused. So how do we judge whether what we are distributing is too much or too little? Okay, so because what the chief would say is this. He would say, how many families do you plan to distribute? I mean, it sounds like a legitimate question. Okay, how many families do you plan to distribute? How many materials do you have? Okay, and I will give you the name list accordingly. Sounds legitimate, but something's wrong. So Master changed the question for us. It should not be how many families do we plan to distribute. It should be how many families are really affected. You see, it's different. If we say that we plan to distribute 2,000 families, then they will give us 2,000 name lists. But maybe only 1,000 is affected, or maybe there's 10,000 is affected. So how many is really affected? Actually, Chief couldn't really tell us. So again, it's another difficulty. And so we really tell Chief really sincerely that you must help us. You must help yourself. You must help your own people. Please go and visit and find out how many families are really affected. I mean, there's 8,000 families in your Makashira. We cannot go and visit every family. It's impossible. We only have 20 volunteers from Maputo. That's impossible. How do we go and visit 8,000 families? So the government must help us. Okay, get your people to go and visit the families, and then tell us how many is really affected. Don't tell us, we don't have limits. We can help as many as we can, but tell us how many is affected. Okay, so that's what we tell them, and that's what Master teaches. Where our hands can reach, where our feet can go, we should help. Okay, so from this, I started to realize that so that's the idea of infinity. We do not limit ourselves by a number, that whether it's 20,000 or anything. We don't. We just go and find out how many is affected, and those that we know that need help, we should go and help. Okay, and so we go down and really start to find out what really happens, and we realize that actually this number difference, okay, the 16,000, 8,000 difference is actually not so much of a polygamy. It's actually more about the actual situation that they face. So we actually go and interview all the bureau chiefs. Why is there a difference in the numbers? And they actually tell us that the numbers that they give to the government before, that add up to the 8,000 families that we receive on the left-hand side, is actually the number that they go and ask, that they went to find out right after the disaster. And right after the disaster, all the families were evacuated to the schools, or it was all flooded, or they were just uncontactable, that they actually fled to all the nearby areas. They just went some other places. So as a biochief, I cannot meet all my people. I couldn't find them. And so I can only report the number that I can find. And that's, of course, a much lesser family, because I don't even know whether they are alive. And so maybe in Matsushita, originally, there's already 16,000 families. Actually, I don't know, because the chief actually also don't know how many families they have in Matsushita before the cyclone. He don't know. And so he can only give us the number that he knows, that is after the disaster, and then what the bureau chief tells him, and it's 8,000 families. Of course, there will be a lot of inaccuracies, because the bureau chief cannot find all the families, and so that's why. And now these people are actually still alive, and so they are coming home, coming back to Matsushita, and so they see the numbers all jumping, very big. They're coming back home. So, which in other words is something good to see, that people are still alive and then they are coming back home already. So, which means 16,000 should be achievable, should be reasonable. So, so we were really glad that we really listened to what Master is saying, because actually we were kind of debating with our team that should we distribute just the 8,000 that the chief actually promised us, because he said there should be just 8,000 families, and so we should only distribute 8,000 families. If not, we don't know whether that 16,000 is actually true or accurate, or is it just some names that made up by all the small chiefs. Okay, so we were having these discussions, but after all this interrogating the bureau chief, we know that this number is accurate and it's all real. There's all these families that is there, we should help them. And so yes, we went to help, and then we get all the small chiefs to actually help us to identify the small chief, who are these the people that's in charge of these 10 families and so on and so forth. So we get all this stack on this. That's all very beautifully handwritten, and yeah, it's all this trouble. So we're going to distribute, okay? But when we go ahead and find, we can gather all volunteers, local volunteers. We found out we are from Tzu Chi, we're going to distribute, and then we are doing all these home visitings, and then we find the storage to put our materials, and then we see that, hey, there's really some things from other NGOs that is around. And so then we go back to ask the chief, we see there are some NGOs that we're distributing. Can we ask where they'll be distributing and when, and how many families they'll be distributing, and so on and so forth. And the chief actually says there is actually no distributions that will be happening next week. Kind of his line. So we actually went to call the NGO, and he's saying they are distributing next week, which is the time that we're distributing. Okay, and what they are distributing, so we began to get a bit nervous. So why are you distributing? And they are distributing, like, the tools, haven't this contract. We are also distributing seeds. Oh, and we are distributing the kitchenware also to get them to cook and so on. So we're like, oh no, it's all the same. And so which buy will get distributed? No, maybe they are only distributing a few villages, so then we can distribute some other villages, and so we compare the name list, and it's all the same. So we're like, oh gosh, this is very bad. We've got all the name lists already. Okay, so we went back and discussed with all the team, and then our money should be used on the really, truly needed places. And so at the end, we decided, okay, so we will not distribute in Matsushita. We'll pull out everything. I mean, it's kind of, a decision. But then again, we already asked all the volunteers to come ready. And so tomorrow, actually, it's that day. I mean, I already told our commissioners that day, in the morning, that we will not distribute anymore. But in the afternoon, we will be having this volunteer training, and then about 200 people will be coming to be trained to distribute, and then we are not distributing. So, so I told my commissioners, our commissioners, that Okay, so this is what happened. What do you think? Now, commissioners were actually very nice. So they were, of course, very sad and everything, but they say, yes, we should still continue with volunteer training. And so I say, yes, so that's the spirit. Okay, we should continue to plant the seed of Tzu Chi, okay, to, these people, although we are not distributing, but we will come back again, to make sure to help them, they will get the tools. So maybe we can gather all these volunteers to help them to build. And so on and so forth, so we get these ideas. So anyway, we are going back to plant the seed of Tzu Chi. Of course, these all go through a translator to help us. And then the translator translated to our commissioners, and then our translator asked me, so when are we distributing seeds? Oh, no, we are not distributing, okay? It's the seed of Tzu Chi, no, here. The seed of, here. Kurasan, cement the kurasan, the seed in the heart. Okay, and so I asked my commissioners, do you understand what I'm saying? The seed here. And I say, yes, they cement the kurasan. They understand. They're like, oh, good. Commissioners, they understand. Translators, they are new, they don't understand. So I'm happy. The commission is very good. And so they begin working. In the morning, they begin getting all the volunteers, and then they learn one big families, and then they begin practicing the skits that they're going to present and everything. They're really, really fast. It's really amazing. And then, I realized that every time when they gather to practice, they treat it as gongxiu, a group sharing. So they would take off their shoes, to show respect. This is a holy place. So they will do that, every place. It's just really awesome. And so after all these practices, okay, people start to gather. So we go out and see really there's 200 people waiting outside, okay? And so volunteers go out and start to try to get them to get ready to come in, and then this is what happened. People were crowding outside, and then they were shouting. They were like trying to squeeze into our rooms, and they were fighting. They were like pushing, and it was very bad. There was like 200 people outside, and they were like shouting, like, "Get us in!" And then it was really crazy. It was really bad. And then people just don't listen, and they're like, they don't want to line up. They don't want to queue up. And then they were like fighting, and then so on and so forth. Then we're like, I was standing there, and this is bad. This is just chaos. And then our volunteers were like screaming their heart out, and then calm down, quiet down, line up, and then this is really, really bad. And so like, I don't really know what to do. And then so I stood there and I began to listen at what happened. I mean, they're here to be volunteers. Why all this chaos? Okay, then we could ask around, and then volunteers will go in and ask around. We realize, some people thought that there's people gathering here, they must be distributing something. And so then other people start to gather, and then thinking that people are distributing, the Tzu Chi is distributing, so they start to fight. I'm also a beneficiary, so they fight, they want to come in to see things. And it's like, oh, we are not distributing, we are doing volunteer training, okay? So I get volunteers to go in and start to explain, this is not a distribution, this is volunteer training, okay? And if you want to become a volunteer, we are here to help others, okay? We are here to bring peace and not bring chaos, okay? So be a volunteer, okay? We are here to volunteer, not to distribute. Okay, so we should begin explaining and everything, but they are not really quieting down. And then the Yamatan, the administrator is like town mayor, basically. The big town mayor came. He's called Mr. Tommy. He came with this very stern face. And his face was like, and he was like, why all these people? I thought you're not because we actually explained to the administrator before, a few days before, that we will not only be distributing because all this trouble and so on and so forth. And so he knows that we are not distributing. But then he came and he sees all these people and all this chaos, and then he's like, so what are you doing? I think you're not distributing already. I mean, and so why all this chaos and everything? I was like, administrator, please listen to me. Okay, and so I took out the schedule of what we are going to do today. Okay, we're doing gratitude, respect, and love. We're not distributing. Yes, we are doing volunteer training, and we're not training them to distribute. We're training them about love, about gratitude, about respect, so that they can be good citizens, and then they can help their villages, and so on and so forth. And then these are all the good, important concepts that masters are teaching us. Explain all these things. It's like, oh, okay, so I understand. So the minister understood. So he went out and then began to gather the people. So, well, luckily we have the administrator. So people come down, they sit down, and then they can listen. And the administrator helped us to explain that Tzu Chi is not here to give money. Okay, they are inviting volunteers. You are not obligated to participate. But if you want to do good, you're most welcome, and so on and so forth. So he explained to it for us. Okay, so yeah, so on and so forth. And then the volunteers also explained, and then after some time, people really came down, and then they line up. And this is what we see after a while. People line up, and then we can actually even get them to fang zhang. and so this is really amazing. You see, as compared to the chaos just now, this is like, wow. And then they queue up, again, the soft music, we play soft music, and then people just line up, begin to sit down very quietly, line by line, and everything is all very nice. And I was really surprised, and I asked them, how do you do that? And then they replied, Master taught us, use the words of love. I. Okay? And so I was like, oh, you are really awesome, volunteers. You are really amazing. It's really amazing. This is amazing. Yeah, and so we began with our volunteer training, which have 250 new volunteers that came in. And so we had prayers, and our commissioners go up one by one to share about how Tzu Chi began, share about bamboo bank, share about Master's love, 53 years ago, Tzu Chi began with bit by bit, everything gathered and so on and so forth, with 5 countries gathered to help everyone, all this love. They also presented a skit about the cause and effect, that this hurricane is not the God being angry. It's all about our own actions, that we have not been doing environmental protection, so on and so forth. We must save the environment. It's all our actions that have caused this disaster. So we must change ourselves, so on and so forth. And at the end, we took out the bamboo bag. And we shared about this bit by bit, we can help others. And then we are not distributing. Which is kind of like, we actually discussed with the commissioners, should we take out a bamboo bag? We are not distributing, we are not giving out things, and then we're asking them money. That's like a bit weird. Will people actually really give? And then so we were kind of a bit in a debate, but at the end we decided that we still want to do this, because it's not because they have received things and so they must contribute back. It is not that. It's about turning the hands from receiving to giving. And that's no matter whether you are receiving anything from us. I think the idea should be given across, that we are not victims. We can help others. And so at the end, we decide we should do this. Okay. And so our Mama and Maria was sharing about this bamboo. And then suddenly one of our volunteers that wasn't in the meeting was saying that, shh, don't say that. And then our Mama and Maria get nervous. And so we're like, so should I say? Should I not say? He was like nervous, and so me and Michael, another from the volunteer from Britain, we stood onto the stage and we told Mama Anna that say it, okay, have courage. There's nothing to be afraid about. Share about bamboo bank. Okay, people will listen. People understand. So like encourage her and everything. So Mama Anna, come down. She began sharing that this bamboo bank is the love from everyone. We all have strength. Okay, so we went out, began singing songs, and we actually gathered 295 Medicash, which is actually not a lot. It's about 100 something Taiwanese dollars. It's not a lot. but it's 65 pieces of coins, which we were very, very happy. Of course, when we were doing this, there would be some people that stood up and say, I need to go to the toilet. And some people would begin leaving and everything. And like, so, and then when people sing, they kind of sing a little awkwardly. It's not as joyous as when they sing. But okay, but no matter, we still do this, and 65 pieces of love is still very touching. Okay, so amazing. They still did this. And then when everything ended, we began distributing the small gift that we were eventually prepared. But we actually kind of aimed for just 200 people, but then 250 came. So we were like a bit nervous. Is it enough? And then the commissioner was also looking at me with their eyes were like, "Are you sure you're going to do this? Do we really have enough? With all this chaos that just happened just now, are you sure you're going to do this?" And I was like, "We have already brought it, just distribute it." And so we began distributing, and then at the end, it's really not enough. It's really not enough. And so, and so I just told the commissioners that, no, just close our palms, saying obrigado, ganon, ganon. With sincerity, I'm sure that they will not, fight and not, then they will not come back and ask us, why they received so many and I didn't receive. And all this chaos is imaginable, but it didn't actually happen. It didn't happen. So I'm very glad the volunteering actually worked. It was gratitude, respect, and love, and then everyone was very nice. And so it ended very, very well. And then when everyone came out, although some later people, they didn't receive our souvenirs, but they were all very happy, and we were like, obrigado, obrigado. Everyone was very happy. And so, and so now we have 200 something seed of Tzu Chi in Metashira, and our volunteers are now going back Metashira to actually continue to gather them, to help them to rebuild their houses, and so on and so forth. So it's amazing. This seed of Tzu Chi is something that is formless, but we know that something is already planted in their heart. And then when we go back to Metashira and visit the villages, here and there we will see people walk up to us, and they will close up and say, and we know, this is one of the 200 people that have come to our training. There's 8,000 families over there, but we know that there's 200 people that's there that already know Tzu Chi, and they will continue to help us over there. So it's an amazing story. I'm sorry, I kind of use that all the time. Sorry about that. But thank you so much for listening. I think all in all, I just want to say our local volunteers there is just amazing, and they are amazing because of the purity in their hearts. They shared about Tzu Chi just like this, and then with such sincere heart and such pure heart, you can really transform people from chaos into peace, and then we can really plant the seed of Tzu Chi over there. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you. It's my sharing. Thank you so much. And obrigado. Obrigado. Thank you.
Brother Yoping, very heartfelt. We are sure time is not enough. Okay, Brother Yoping, please, I can continue sharing until the whole session today. Because the Hong Kong brother, he will share another Saturday. Brother Yoping, our super at Hualien.
Oh, sorry, I finished my PPT.
看他们有没有要讲的。
好像没有呀，就下个礼拜讲。
OK. Okay. Hi, everybody. Okay. So this is the moment. Okay. This is the moment where I'm really proud to call Yoping my brother. Okay. When you get brothers like this is wonderful. I was sitting on the other side and I was listening to the sharing, and I think it was amazing in that how you see how the entire journey, okay, from when we first got the mission, when they first got the mission, it was you only take 20 people and you're supposed to get how many? 200, okay, get 200, and then you're supposed to distribute 8,000, okay, and do it yourself and, you know, figure it out, however you're gonna do it. So that was the first mission. But you see how everything grew from there. And this is what I want to share, what I think about is responsibility. You know, the responsibility that we all have as a commissioner, as a Tzu Chi volunteer, as a disciple of Buddha Dharma lineage, is you get this mission and then you say, I'm going to do it, right? You're going to finish, right? So in terms of responsibility, that's the limit. You limit yourself to say, that's my responsibility. I am supposed to bring 20 people, get 200, distribute 8,000, and do it yourself, right? With the limited resource. We always limit ourselves by the idea that that's my responsibility and I'm gonna do it. But what Brother Yoping and all the volunteers have shown us is that in terms of the mission, you know, it was not successful because they didn't distribute, right? 8,000 families, you know, amazing stories about the name list, about, you know, getting, you know, back and forth about how to distribute, about all these, you know, and then the name list comes back, 16,000. It was, you know, the husband and the wives. I mean, this is amazing story, right? But if that was your responsibility, you would stop right there. You would think, well, then my responsibility cannot be fulfilled. And if you stop there, no one would say that you're wrong. Because the mission that was given to you, the job that was given to you, you can't complete. And no one would say that you were wrong to stop there, right? And no one would say that you were wrong if you didn't continue. So eventually we went there. And we got there and we say, we're still going to hold our volunteer training. If you didn't go, they would understand. Because we were supposed to distribute, and then they would obviously come here and learn. But if they didn't need to distribute, then why would they need to train? There's no need. So the responsibility gets you there, but it wasn't the responsibility that prompted Brother Yoping, which looks very dark right now compared to my pale skin. This is really the difference between, you know, being to Africa and not being to Africa, okay? So that's responsibility, but he didn't let the responsibility say, you know, I'm going to limit what I'm going to do. No. So he went there still, and he continued, right? So that's responsibility and the sense of mission, right? So 责任与使命, your mission is that I am not just going to be here to distribute. That's not my mission. My mission is here to spread the teachings, and not just to give you the concrete things. That's part of it, but ultimately is to give the seed so that you will be one day be able to bear the fruit of enlightenment, of happiness and joy, and being able to really understand gratitude, respect, and love. That's our mission, right? It's not just to distribute 8,000. That's a part of it. But when the journey could change a little bit, but the end goal isn't going to change. That's our mission. So, and then eventually that's when the volunteer training happened, and then there is a lot of things happening. You know, people are not, you know, they thought that there's distribution, right? And I think one story that you know, this is the second time I hear. The first time I heard about 1/3 of the story, okay, and it was already very amazing. And today I hear the remaining 2/3, and it's not only that, but how difficult it was because the people had to go through translation, right? So the translator come back to ask Yoping, so when are we distributing seed? And you know, you must go like, you know, palm to the head, and you go like, no, we're not distributing. It's the seed in the heart. You know, you can imagine, you know, Brother Yoping with such good temperament, you know, I'm sure he didn't lose it. I wouldn't lose it. Like, no, don't understand. But he didn't lose it, you know. This is Brother Yoping talking about, okay? So he didn't lose any of it, and he was continuing to be very patient to explain to all of the people, no, we're not distributing. It's the Tzu Chi's Bodhi seed, right? It's the seeds of love. It's the seed of Tzu Chi. We're not distributing, right? We're planting the seeds. So after all of this, and even after all the explanation and all the skit, the responsibility of the volunteer training is to provide the teachings. And we did it there too. But what happened at the end? It was Anna Maria. She went up there with the bamboo bank. Once again, the responsibility, if she didn't do it, it would have been fine. Because you taught the values to all the people, the 250 people that were there. That was the responsibility. But the mission wasn't just to tell them and teach them. The mission is to inspire them. And so they did. So that's, a lot of people ask you, what are your 责任与使命? What are your responsibility? And what is your mission in Tzu Chi? That's the difference. Responsibility limits you, but we as commissioners, we as disciples, we need to see the responsibility as our the baseline, and then we break through there and say, no, we're shooting for something more every time. So then they did, and there are 65 pieces of love. And that's what you do. That's what you get when you don't just see responsibility as a job that you're doing, as a task that was given by the team, that you take 20 people and you get 200 people and you distribute 8,000. We ended up not distributing at all, except for the little hanging gifts. But we ended up not distributing, but we get 250 people, and twice we fundraised twice, right? The first time it was with the small chi, right? And then the second time it was the 65 pieces, right? So ended up we come out profiting. We didn't give anything, but we get a lot back. But is it really true that we didn't give anything? We gave all we had, right? Brother Yoping probably aged by 10 years during that time. But he gained all that wisdom back. Let me tell you, okay, in 2015, we were out there in Nepal. And I can say that, 4 years later, I see Brother Yoping, same passion, but he was so much more mature in overcoming all these difficulties. Okay, I'm not saying that he was immature before, but I'm saying that he's so much more mature. He's not just darker. That's only what you see on the surface, but he's so much more mature. And I think that, I'm very honored to be able to call him my brother. And I think that it's something that we're also very proud of. We're very proud to have this team going there, and we're proud to have our brothers and sisters in Africa. They're able to do all this, and I see them standing up there, sharing their stories, right? You saw the pictures, sharing the stories of what they have done. Amazing. And this is just exactly like what Master said today. In the morning, the Master said that if you're able to have this pure mind and pure heart, the 意念, your consciousness is pure and without any tainted by any selfishness, then any word you say, even however brief, it would echo the teachings from our Buddha and the Buddhas of the past. And this is exactly what Brother Yoping brought to them. So through the local volunteers, the Africans were able to see Tzu Chi, and they were able to see Master, and they were able to see the Buddha's teaching. And we, through Brother Yoping, we see the inherent Buddha nature in all of the people, whether they're suffering or whether they're volunteers. So both worlds, through these lenses, through Yoping, we see them, and they, through Yoping, see us. And I think this is a very important thing, that we see each other without any tainted lenses in between, with only the pure Buddha nature seeing each other. And that's when this is one family. So thanks to the sharing. And I think next week, you know, I already booked him, but he said next week he's going to the 4-in-1 retreat, so he will not be available. And chances are good that we probably won't be available either. So we will discuss more if we should put it on hold because of the retreat happening over. But in any regard, I think this is a story that I hope everybody can go back to replay the video that was recorded and go back to listen to all the highs and downs, and don't let any difficulties get you down. The responsibilities is the baseline, but we must see in the responsibilities our mission. And when the mission is so clear, you will just be like Brother Yopi, be able to break through all the difficulties and achieve at the end. You now know that in this place, Mechu Shira, there's 250 people that know Tzu Chi, and the seeds are already there. So thank you all so much, and thank you, Brother Yoping, sharing 2 straight weeks. I'm sure there are more stories to come, and we'll find the opportunity to share more. Okay, thank you, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure everyone is very heartfelt. Brother Yoping, Brother Joe for such heartfelt sharing. Yes, all of us have such great dharmic joy. It's not enough. Yeah, we hope to hear more. Really very proud of all the brothers and sisters in Africa. I'm sure everyone is have so much joy. We're very grateful to our Hong Kong family. They're supposed to share today, but today they understand. They will share another Saturday. We will share more news on whether we will have this Saturday session in view of the 4-in-1. Watch out for the updates. A day full of gratefulness. Awesome. Okay, thank you, brothers and sisters, for your presence. Hope that each of us could sustain the Dharma joy and take in another piece of our Dharma Masters and Hualien love to our life. Let us please make 3 vows to the Buddha and Dharma Master as we depart to apply these teachings in our daily life. Let us pay our respects to the teachers of life universal truth. Comes together, first bow. Second bow. Third bow. And a bow to our beloved Sifu who could join us today.感恩 everyone. See everyone. We'll come back to everyone. Bye bye. Enjoy the 4-in-1 and 加油大家。感恩。
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Very heartfelt.